This is Basic AF episode 92. Show notes for this and all episodes can be found at basicafshow.com. Hey, how are you doing? Jeff Battersby, good to see you, sir. It's been a minute.
It has been actually a month, Tom. It's been a long time.
Since we've actually recorded, yeah.
And now we're beta cucks. Wait. Is that
Here
what
we
this
go.
show's
What are
about?
we? We're 30 seconds in.
Yeah,
you missed me, didn't you? I feel like you don't have many friends you can be this way with.
No, I don't.
It's like Tom.
Talk to you this way.
Yes. So, how's life been, sir?
I've been good, actually.
Good.
I'm half a chapter away from finishing a novel.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Well, I mean, you had a slight detour along the way.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
Just a little
nothing
bit.
serious, but, you know.
Speaking of, last night I went to see a play at the theater. I usually do stuff at Vanya, Sonia, Masha, and Spike. Pretty good. Highly recommend if you're in the, in the Wappingers Falls area that you stick your head in and check that out. But one of the guys who's a friend of mine, been a friend of mine for a long time, we were all walking up together to the car afterwards. And he's going, "You're walking really well." And I am.
Good.
Yeah, like noticeable to other people. I mean, I know I'm still messed up. There's still things that are a little goofy, that I'm well aware of every single day. But I'm very grateful to say that I am very much on the mend.
Good. Yeah, happy to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
I bet you are, yeah.
I could have been in a pine box, Tom.
Well, thank God. Well, you wouldn't be any the wiser, but the rest of us would be like, man, who am I going to be called a beta cuck by now? So yeah, it's
Who's
a good
going
thing.
to do that to you, Tom?
Right. Yeah. So, no, but seriously, all good stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm very grateful. I really am. I feel well. I am in really decent shape. You know, hiking kind of. Rocks are hard.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's why they're rocks. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, see? All right, people are already tuning out. Let's move on.
Okay, right. Let's get out of here. Health.
All right,
Let's talk about old man health things, Tom. How's your prostate?
Jeez. As promised by the folks in Cupertino, the public betas for the new operating systems have in fact arrived in July. They came out this past week. We've got public betas for everything except Vision OS, which has never, as far as I can recall, had a public beta. It just has developer betas. But if you're so inclined, you could get those too, I'm sure. But
yeah, and I think between us, we have them on just about every device, right?
I think so. I don't do HomePod stuff and AirPods firmware. I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah,
but
no, I didn't do that.
All right, so yeah, before we dig into it, let's kind of take a roster check or roll call, see what we've got. So, what have you installed thus far?
I have installed this on my watch, on my phone, gutsy, and on my iPad. All of those. I have not put it on any of my Macs because I really do important work on those things, and I'm not interested in having stuff disappear into the ether. But honestly, for those three items, watch, other than sucky battery life, it's been pretty solid. I mean, there are glitches and that you would expect, but those are the three items that I have it on. How about you, Tom?
Okay, so I have it on my phone, which I actually installed. I had to run over to Northern Virginia this week, and I actually installed it the night before because I thought, well, I knew where I was going, so I was like, but it'd be a good test because I'll be in the car for an extended period of time, so I wanted to see like CarPlay and Siri and CarPlay and all that, so I did that. I have it on my iPad, and I have it on my MacBook Air at work.
Okay.
Because we're supposed to be testing those things at work, so not put it on any of my Macs at home yet. I'll wait till fall to do that. But
yes, yeah, smart move. And let's do broad view first impressions. What are your impressions thus far?
Thus far, pretty good.
Broad over everything. Yeah, right.
Yeah, pretty good.
Same, pretty solid.
I think Apple in the keynote, one of the kind of the pillars they talked about were like performance improvements and refinements and things like that. And we'll get into those, but it doesn't seem any worse than Tahoe, to be honest, and it's a beta. So I think that's a good sign.
Yes. And you put out a very nice newsletter. This actually, when we're recording, it would have been this last week, talking about the betas and putting those on. And some of the things that you mentioned in that newsletter are definitely true. Battery life on my watch was horrible. There may be some little stuff going on under the hood that initially makes it so it sucks, but I would use it for a day. It was like, oh, I'm down to 10%. Let me plug that in. And right now, I think I slept with this on last night. I'm at about 85%, which is not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And which model watch do you have again?
I have the 2, the
Ultra
second
2
version of the Ultra. Yeah.
Okay, so I can't put it on mine. I've fallen out of support.
Have you really?
Mm-hmm. So I couldn't do that if I wanted to. But it's funny you said your battery life was so bad, and that's kind of like a twice a week thing for me. Just regular wear and tear, I guess, on the battery and everything. And I'll throw it on the charger at 8:00 at night to charge up before I go to bed, and it'll be like 10%. I'm like, whoa,
right?
So battery just draining out. But how about for your phone battery there?
Sucky. Super sucky, actually, compared to what it was. I mean, it wasn't, I've got a couple-year-old phone, so battery life not going to be great no matter what anyway. I have, since I got it, only done 80% and have bumped that up now, but 80 to 85% charge. Mm-hmm. So, which is, the recommended way to go about this. So that has limitations as it is, but I definitely am charging my phone sooner in the day than I might have otherwise. I will say the iPad I haven't noticed because 90% of the time, I'm only taking that off the charger for better or for worse for a few minutes, like depending on what's going on. Maybe I'm watching the World Cup, which will be over by the time you hear this. But might watch, World Cup or movies while I'm cooking or doing something, and obviously doing edits on the novel. So a lot of work that I've been doing there. But usually, edits on the novel, I do it a chapter or chapter 2 at a time. So I'm not really killing that too much. It's not doing too much battery life. So it's hard for me to tell iPad-wise just because of the way I use it. But, the phone, my watch, off the battery 90% of the time. So, I've found it to be okay. And you were having sucky battery life on your phone anyway. So.
Right. That's partially why I was like, you know what? Can't be much
worse.
Who cares? So I was like, and that's what's been so frustrating. It's 16 Pro Max, and you should be getting good battery life. I mean,
yeah,
and it was, and then iOS 26, it is just not. And I keep seeing other people having this, a similar experience, complaining about it and everything. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to try it because I would get 2 hours on screen time. With the phone, because most of the time at work it just sits on my desk, and then I'd go home and it'd be like 38%. I'm like, I haven't used it. And
I presume you're connected to Wi-Fi at work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that you're not, your phone's not trying to reach out and touch somebody every 2 seconds to
right,
which would explain, like, if I take the train from where I live to New York City. By the time I get down to New York City, I'm 50%, and that's doing nothing. And that's because it's always going, hey, is there Wi-Fi? Hey, is there Wi-Fi? So usually now if I hop on the train, I throw on a podcast and turn in airplane mode. Yeah. Because that drive down is really sucky. It's sucky the battery life out.
Right. Yeah. And so I put it on the phone, and I don't really have a good read for it yet because when you upgrade and with the new Siri, it's like hey, we're going to do a bunch of indexing and optimizing for Siri to use.
Yes.
And it's going to take a while. But it said it will go faster while it's plugged in. And so I've been trying to kind of move that along. And so I've had it on charger a lot this week. And it is finished. That finished, I guess, yesterday, because yesterday morning it was like a 92%. So it seems to be done now. So we'll see. Like today I should be able to run it without being on the charger. And like right now I've got 70% left. And it was like, I think 74 when I woke up, which was, 7:30 or something. So it seems to be, but who knows?
Hard to tell.
We'll find out.
And it's still early days.
Oh, yeah. Next
battery life doesn't usually get fixed until, right before release date often.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay. Interesting. So what have you played with thus far?
Primarily, I have used Siri, of course, and what else? To any great extent, that's it. I mean, that's kind of been my focus is to look at that, 'cause I mean, that's the highlight feature besides the parental controls they talked about, and then the performance things. But
let's just talk about that for a little bit, because this is, as we said before, this is kind of like a snow leopard update from the old days, which was Apple, thank goodness, has determined that they're going to do a lot of undercover work. Siri and the Siri AI features are up front for sure, and that stuff's never worked. Ever. So any improvement there is going to be amazing. But everything else is kind of under the covers. And frankly, Siri is under the covers too. It's big talk, but the way it was supposed to work 2 years ago was supposed to be able to grab information from your device and, be able to contextually figure out what the heck it is you're going to do. And so that was a lot of undercover work that Apple just couldn't get their business together on. Or maybe their expectations were such that they were different than your average AI. We all know what I think of AI. All of this is really just improvements to make it so the user experience is better without you having to actually notice the user experience. So there's not a lot to see that's that different, at least that I've noticed. It looks the same. It behaves the same. There are a couple of changes in some of the apps in terms of what gets displayed. For example, music has been updated a little bit, and I like the way that changes has gone on, but really this is all under the cover stuff. So nothing too glitzy other than Apple Intelligence being foremost, or something that's at the front, and then all the other stuff is going to be underneath. So I don't expect to see too much in terms of real visible change other than what's going on in the AI/Siri realm.
Right. And they added some controls for adjusting or fine-tuning liquid glass. So they gave you a slider. So if you want it to be more glass-like, you slide it to the left. If you want it to be more really frosted glass-like, you slide it to the right. Did you change that at all? I left it in the center.
I left it in the center too. I played with it for a little bit. Enough. I was like, who cares?
Right.
I don't honestly.
And one of the things that they've done is, so people were kind of off-put, especially on macOS, with the corner radius on the windows. And they've kind of dialed that back so they're not quite as aggressive. I think it looks pretty good. The floating sidebar isn't a floating sidebar anymore. It's just more like the old sidebar used to be. What you think of that depends on whether or not you like the effect that the floating sidebar kind of gave. I could take it or leave it. Doesn't matter to me too much either way. Now, something they did add on macOS, which I like quite a bit, and shared that with you in the chat this week, is kind of a common thing I was running into on the laptop, because of the notch, is your menu bar items would kind of creep over and kind of disappear and be like, well, where'd it go? And then when you close one, they would kind of slide back down, which wasn't really that elegant, to be honest. Nope. And so they've added like a little tool in the menu bar. If the menu bar extends beyond the notch, it gives you this little tool, look like a little less than signs to them kind of stuck together. And it's like a toggle. And when you click it, the ones that would extend beyond the notch actually show up over on the other side of the notch, so you can get to them. And then when you're done, or after a few seconds, they'll close and they'll go back and get out of the way. So it's much more of an elegant solution, because I would lose like our VPN for some reason, like at work. That one was always like at the end, or depending on if you're going left to right, it would be the first icon of the menu bar, but it would always get stuck behind the notch. And I was like, well, where's the damn VPN? So I'm really happy to see this. Now, flip side of that is, Tom, maybe you've got too many things in your menu bar, which may be true. But it's handy for people that do need it. I didn't see anything in the system settings in menu bar where you could like toggle it on or off. I may have just missed it. So it just seems to be there when you need it.
And that's something that a lot of people use in third-party apps like Bartender to
because that's what I was curious about. Because when I plug the laptop into an external display, that little toggle doesn't appear. So it's not like you can say, show me just these 4 all the time. At least not yet. They may add this, or maybe I missed it. So if someone found a way to do that, let us know. And so it only appears for me so far on the laptop, like around the notch. So it doesn't seem to be like, the thing with Bartender, you could say, I just really want to see mostly these 5 things to keep it tidy. And then I click and see the rest. I haven't seen that, but again, I haven't looked too hard, so I may have just missed it.
Yeah. I noticed the same thing that you were talking about. Not because I'm running anything, because I'm not, because it's not on my Macs. But I had seen stuff written about that, and then you sent the screenshot to kind of show that little bit of magic, which is great. I really like that. And for those of you that have been using the current version of macOS, you may have noticed that stuff appears in the menu bar now too that would normally be in the dynamic island on your phone. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if I'm watching the World Cup, which I am, the scores will pop up in the menu bar as well. Yeah, so again, that there's a lot of business taking place in the menu bars. There's a lot going on that one needs to be aware of, and that might.
Yeah, and I haven't tried this yet. I did see for, when you can connect your iPhone on your Mac and do this, and control it, right? iPhone sharing.
Oh, yeah.
You can resize that in Golden Gate. You can. But I haven't tried that yet.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I haven't. Well, because I don't have Golden Gate on my Macs. But yeah, I wasn't even aware that was the case. That's kind of a nice feature. I do use that feature often, by the way. And what's really interesting, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, and again, this is not in Golden Gate, this is in the current version of macOS. Spotlight will, if you find something, for example, Discord or Slack, which I don't have on my Mac, but I do have on my iOS device for work-related stuff, it will open up. It will find that app on your phone and open it up that way, which is a really nice feature. So I don't have to install something on my Mac if I don't want it, like Slack, and have it pop open, or have me have to install that app on my Mac. It opens it up on my phone, and I have access to it on my phone, which is really slick. Love it. It's a nice way of handling that, so you don't have to have every single application installed on every device. One device suffice.
So it's something I was happy to see when I first got my car. So I drive a Subaru Crosstrek, and when I first got it, and hooked up CarPlay, I was like, oh, wow, cool. I have 3 rows of app icons, so I don't have to swipe as much and everything. And they were fairly high definition. I mean, the screen itself isn't like a retina display or anything in the car, but they look nice. And then somewhere along the way, in one of the 26 updates, that I'm assuming got broken. And I had just 2 rows, and they were like the jumbo icons. And so they were a little bit fuzzy and everything. And I get used to it. It's like not that big of a deal. But I was like, man, I don't know. It looked better the other way. So I thought maybe they just changed it or anything. And I went through all the settings and everything and couldn't get it to resolve. But when I put the public beta on, I was happy to see I've got the 3 rows back. And they look like they used to. So that was nice. Again, it's a little thing. It's not a big deal, but it's an improvement. So I'll take it. The other thing I noticed, using maps when I was driving down the road the other day, the navigation announcements, so the volume was very low. Like it was like in a quarter mile, turn right onto Route 7. I was like, okay, great. But I was like, man, it's not too loud. And so I was at a traffic light and I was checking the volume settings, and I was on the loudest setting. And so I was like, I don't know, let me try the classic. Choose another one and then set it back. And it worked. It about scared me to death. I was like, whoa.
Loud.
Yeah, okay. So other than that, everything like CarPlay didn't have any connection issues because it's wireless CarPlay. It seemed to be fine. Maps worked fine. I use messages a good bit too because like I said, I was trying Siri, which we'll talk about Siri a good bit here in a second. But and that all worked. I did get a couple times where when I was in a low signal area, it was like, yeah, no, I can't do anything. Try again later. I was like, but it was where I had signal, I didn't get that. So it definitely seemed to be related to having low signal and just not being able to process enough data or something.
Gotcha. Yeah, not. I haven't found any issues with that on my CarPlay. CarPlay's been pretty solid all the way around. I don't have as big a screen. Yours is oriented like an iPad. And in your Forester, mine is wide. I think the thing that I was really hoping for, which, this is me smoking good things on, whatever days I need to smoke them. I had hoped that on my BMW that I would have the option of doing the CarPlay 2 or whatever they're calling it, that makes it so CarPlay shows up in your car. What's really interesting is if I'm navigating, I get the macOS map on my display. It shows up in the middle. It defaults to the built-in BMW one. Otherwise, that's kind of the default. So my feeling was, man, it's like 3/4 of the way there. Let's bump it the rest of the way. But I don't think that's a thing that's going to happen. So, and I'm not buying a different car. So
just for that, right?
Yeah, no.
I'd like to have it, but not that much.
Nope. And it's on pretty fancy high-end cars at the moment. So.
Yeah, I think they call that CarPlay Ultra, where it takes
is that
over,
what it is?
like the heads-up display in the car, and it shows your speed and RPMs and all that stuff.
Yeah, all that. Yep.
All right, Jeff.
All right, Tom.
Well, let's get to it. The highlight of the betas and soon-to-be final releases of all of these things, the long-awaited new Siri.
Mm-hmm. So how much have you used this, Tom?
I have used it a fair amount, and that's been, of course, intentional, just trying to see what it can do, what it won't do, where it falls apart, things like that. How about you?
Mostly on my watch.
Okay, good. So I can't put it on mine, so I'll be curious to see how it is.
Yeah. No, and I will say impressed. There was an article. Goodness, I probably should have added that to the show notes. But there was an article I was going through today about how this is working, particularly on the watch. And in the past, it wasn't great. It really, I mean, Siri sucked everywhere, but it sucked really bad on your watch. And,
sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Right. Or I can show you that on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I did this morning was, asked who was going to play in today's World Cup game and where it was going to be, and bang, bang, came right back with that information. So didn't talk to me, which I kind of like. It just displayed it on the watch. But it showed that, we've got France and England today, that it's at 5:00 Eastern time, and that it's going to take place. Can't remember what stadium it is. I think it's a stadium in Florida. But it told me all that information. It showed me the two teams, plus it showed me via text. It was text-based information. What was going to be going on? So I highly impressed. Suddenly, this is useful. This is
shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, right. And as you said before we started recording, I think we're both sitting here waiting to see if it's Lucy with the football.
Mm-hmm.
But we're, so far, I stand impressed. I haven't played with it too much on my iPad or on my phone. I did try the other day. I have a doctor's appointment on Wednesday, and I did try to say, show me the address of the place that I'm going to on Wednesday. And it's not in that address is not in my calendar. So it only brought up the calendar item. It didn't, search through any of my emails as far as I could see and say it's going to be 21 Reed Place or whatever it is. So that was kind of interesting to me. But yeah, so far, particularly on the watch, I'm super impressed by it. How about you on the other side?
So I don't have it on the watch, but I've been using it on iPad and my phone a good bit, and a little bit on my Mac at work, which I'm not sure for how much longer because of we've got to decide what we're going to do there just on privacy stuff. Like Apple's whole thing, of course, is this is private. It's on device. It goes to private cloud compute. But with other vendors, we're able to put these written agreements into place that say, hey, and I don't know if Apple's got those yet. And so until they do, we may have to be like, yeah.
Can't use it.
Right. Maybe a little bit of, maybe some things you could do, maybe some things you can't. So we're evaluating all that. But so a couple of examples or things that I've done. So I installed it this week, and something this week that happened is I got a notification from my bank, potential fraud, which is what everyone loves to get from their bank. And so I got the notification, and it was a transaction from Apple for like $150. And I was like, ooh, wonder what I got at Apple for $150. I mean, I've got subscriptions and everything, App Store stuff that comes through and Apple Care and all that. And I was like, $150. It's like the only thing I could think of that would have been $150 was like the Apple Care plan for the MacBook Pro that I have.
Right.
But it's under Apple Care 1. I was like, so it wouldn't be that unless they screwed it up. So I go through and I check, all my stuff. Didn't see anything. So I was like, geez, great. So I said, okay, it's fraud. So right away, great. Your card is blocked. Go to the bank to get another one. So I did that. And we'll come back to that story because it was kind of funny. But I thought, well, let me see what if Siri's any good for this.
So was Siri able to do anything with with that information?
So it was. So I said, I asked it, do I have any emails or anything about having a problem with my bank card? And it was like, yes, actually, you have an email from the bank that fraud was detected and the card's been blocked. But you also have an email from FilterBuy, which is the company I buy the filters for our HVAC system from. And it said they had a problem processing your payment and asked you to follow up. I was like, okay, that's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that actually is useful. So you
Right.
got two pieces of information.
Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of the first thing that I tested because it just happened to happen right after I'd upgraded. And I wasn't sure if even it was going to work because it had just started that indexing and everything. And so it did. And then there were some other ones I asked that it didn't, which I'm going to, at this point, attribute to the fact it was still indexing. It just didn't have everything.
Okay. Or still
beta.
Kind of in beta.
Right. And so I thought, okay, well, that's a pretty decent start. And then the other day I scheduled service for the car. And so I'm going to do that on Monday morning. And so I said, I'm not going to say the buzzword so we don't trip people's devices, but I said, hey, I scheduled service for the car on Monday morning at 8:45, put that on the calendar, and then add a reminder for Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock so I don't forget. And it did both of those. I was like, okay, that's good. So that was handy. And then one of the things I was most impressed by was when I was coming home on Thursday from the trip over to Northern Virginia. So the newsletter platform that I use is Beehive, and they had a what they call it, the summer release event, where it's their dog and pony show for the new stuff that's coming out. And it was Thursday afternoon at 1:30. And so this was about 3 o'clock that I was driving home. And so I said, hey, Beehive, the newsletter platform I use, had their summer release event today. What did they announce? And it gave me a nice rundown of everything they had announced. And it just happened. So I was like, okay, that's pretty good because, I mean, it pretty much had just finished. And so it gave me a list. And you sent
that to me, I think. I think you sent me the...
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was like, yeah, they announced a new community thing. They did this and this. Would you like more information on any of those? And so I was like, hey, that new community thing, is it on the scale plan or the max plan? Because they've got different plans and you get different features and stuff. Pretty typical. But it was like, so yeah, community is available on scale, max, and enterprise. I was like, okay, good. Wow. So it actually knew quite a bit. And I was really impressed by that. And then something off the wall that I tried just to see, I was like, is there a way to build a shortcut? Because you can build shortcuts through with Siri now in the shortcuts. I was like, is there a way to build a shortcut that can check my Beehive account to see if I have any new subscribers? Oh. And so I thought about it for a second. And it came back and it was like, yes, you can build a shortcut to check your Beehive account for new subscribers. And it's like, while there isn't a direct built-in action for Beehive in the Shortcuts app, you can accomplish this using the get contents of URL action to connect to the Beehive API, or using third-party automation service like if this, then that. And it gave me the steps to do it. I didn't actually build it to see if it was right. It was more just, would it even know? And it did.
That's amazing.
Go get the API information, get the key, plug it in, do this, do that, parse the data using, get dictionary values, all that sort of thing. So I am going to try this just to see if it works. And next episode, I'll let you know if it worked or not. But
okay, very cool. Yeah, that's amazing, actually, compared to especially what it was.
And it's so funny. It's like, when you're using these frontier models, so Claude and ChatGPT and everything, you're kind of used to this stuff now. But like you said, Siri sometimes couldn't even add something to reminders without flaking out, especially on the watch. And things like that. And so, but all in all, like I've had to check, I was like, so I've got a couple doctor appointments next week. When are those? And it would say, oh, you go for your wellness check this day. You've got a dentist appointment on that day. Hey, what's the latest? I had to check my website. I was like, what's the latest thing on TomFAnderson.com? And so I went and was like, oh, Tom did a WWDC recap. He posted about the betas because it was just Thursday. I posted that. So all in all, very promising, I think.
Yeah,
for where we are.
Well, and here's the thing. This is what Apple promised a couple of years ago. And at the time that they promised it, it was game-changing, I thought, And at that point in time, most of the other LLMs were not at that level either, like, particularly when it came to personal information. And then, obviously, it failed miserably. That thing never showed up. Whatever it was, it never took place. And I think what we're seeing is that Apple, without making a lot of noise about it, and on either side, there were I won't say apologies, but certainly there's going to be a little money payout, $25 or something like that, whomever purchased their device specifically to use Apple Intelligence. But the beauty of it was privacy. It's all on device, and then private cloud compute, and then the ability to know you, which scares me, because, up until this point in time, Apple's been pretty decent with personal information. We're getting into an ad-based economy now on maps and stupid stuff like that, which
right.
I may have feelings about that. But we can get to those feelings later. But the fact that it is able to take that personal information and turn it into something useful, as opposed to turning you into a commodity, which I really still feel is what most of the other ones are doing. That's pretty much that's the business model. I feel like Apple's really doing something interesting, and you posted in our show notes for ourselves. Apple's really put this together in such a way that we've got the ability to control apps, as has been said by you and our friend Benjamin Savage, the ability to create maybe plugins for Safari, or as you said, the ability for you to be able to shove a shortcut that goes in and looks at what's going on in Beehive. This actually makes it very useful, and the fact that it's able to look at your personal information without distributing that personal information someplace else, and then create something that is very specific to you, that to me makes this a very unique experience. It's a unique tool as opposed to what we're used to in things like Claude, which I like, and ChatGPT, which I'm not so in love with, and maybe I shouldn't be in love with Claude either. I don't know. Or any of those. This seems much more personal than any of those things have felt to me. That doesn't mean that they won't feel that way in the future, but at least at the present, it's pretty interesting. It makes it valuable. This makes me want to use AI. Shocking.
Isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see even how much better it gets when the public releases hit in the fall and developers have updated their apps and you can use it with that. So like right now it works with notes and reminders and things like that. But think about, if you're using Todoist or Things or Craft or Obsidian, whatever your apps are, your third-party apps that you're using. I mean, it could be a recipe app, it doesn't have to be a quote-unquote productivity app, anything that you can tie into and then use Siri to float that information when you need it. I mean, I think they gave some examples in the demonstrations they did with about some dinner party they were planning and recipes and things like that. And so if you're using a recipe app or something, you could say, and bring up the recipe for whatever, and it would show that to you. So again, we've been waiting. They kind of had the false start 2 years ago, and then they kind of burned everything down and started from scratch using the Google Gemini models as kind of the foundation, which again, to repeat, Apple has said this is not a rebranded Gemini. Like, this is not Google Gemini running in on your Apple devices. This is using their underlying stuff and that Apple's tuned and built and layered things on top of, and then runs on device and then the private cloud compute. And then, of course, you still have the extensions are there. So if you wanted to kick things out to, say, ChatGPT, which I think is still the only one, I think others are coming, you could do that for things that are beyond Siri's capabilities at that point in time. But overall, looks promising, Jeff.
It really
wasn't sure we'd ever say that.
About Siri especially.
Mm-hmm.
No, it does. It looks really promising and interesting. a personal assistant is what it really seems like for the first time.
Yeah.
That is, as long as, Siri's been around for, 10, 15 years now?
Oh, gosh. It was it the 4S, 5S, one of those? So it's probably close to 15. I remember when it came out, it did, for the time, it did a lot.
Yeah,
right?
It was amazing. And
Scott Forstall did the demo, and he was like, "Yeah, order this, reserve this," and it was like, "Okay, great." And then it
fell
kind of went nowhere after that.
Yeah,
it got worse, regressed. But I think, everything so far seems to be moving in the right direction. Again, it's not going to be perfect. It's still going to, have issues, I'm sure, but already way better.
Yeah,
not that the bar was high, but.
No, the bar wasn't very high at all. So a couple of things to keep in mind. Tom, your experience, my experience with these betas thus far has been, I would say, great. And the betas just came out this week. Between us, we've installed it on every device other than, like you said, HomePods and, AirPods, things of that nature.
And I'll say not perfect, but just to kind of put that out there. Because I've had some apps crash. Like I had some UI glitches on the Mac, like BB Edit. I opened it, and when I clicked the file menu, the menu would drop down over on Control Center. So I was like, no, I closed the app and relaunched it, and it was fine. So it was kind of a one-time thing. The email app I use, MimeStream, at work, it's a little glitchy, so it crashes here and there, which rolls right into these kind of do's and don'ts we're going to talk about. If you decide to go this route, don't expect all the apps to work. And if they don't work, surely let the developer know, give them a heads up, but don't say, your stupid app doesn't work on the beta, you need to fix it, because that's, one, just being a jerk. Don't do that. Right. And two, you should not expect them to, their apps today are not built to be compatible with these new OSs. That's why we go through this whole process. But let them know. I'm sure they'd appreciate the heads up.
Which is why you don't put this on mission-critical computers. So I do not have the betas on this Studio Mac, that I'm talking to you on right now. I do not have the betas on my MacBook Air, which, by the way, I did end up selling my MacBook Pro.
Hey,
woohoo! But we can talk about PayPal and holding on to my money for 30 days. That's another thing. But
have you hit the payout yet? Has it been 30 days?
I got paid out.
Okay.
But I got that's a conversation for another day. I don't have it on my MacBook Air because I do what to me is important stuff on there, and I don't want to jack up important stuff. iPad, perfectly happy to play with that and have it, blow up. My phone, believe it or not, happy with that too. Have no problem doing it. And honestly, my watch, which has been pretty darn solid, no difficulty with doing it on there either, just because, unlike Tom, I don't have 50 years worth of rings. I've a 50-year streak, or what is it? What's your streak on your watch now?
3,500 something.
Yeah, so I'm not afraid to use my 3-day streak. Perfectly fine for me. So yeah, don't put this on anything that is critical to your day to day. If you need your computer or your iPad or your phone or your watch for stuff that can't be, you don't want the devices bricked for any reason, or you don't want to be able not to use an app that you're used to using. Do not put the betas on. That being said, there are things that you can do. So we've talked about this in previous betas. You can file feedback. So when you run across some issue, you can record that issue and should. That's the whole purpose of the public betas, and send it back, that information back to Apple, because they pay attention to this stuff. You give them feedback, they look at what the issues are, they prioritize those issues and try to adjust them. As Tom said, let developers know politely that their app maybe doesn't work the way it should, but just because you're beta testing doesn't mean that their app currently optimized to run on the current shipping versions of OSs. Should be working on that. Undoubtedly, they're testing their applications on betas as well, so that they can work out any kind of bugs. But again, tell them nicely. And then in test flights, some app developers might be offering to let you test their apps, new versions of their apps that are designed to actually be using Golden Gate. So, check in with your favorite app developers and say, hey, I'm on the beta. I'd like to test your betas as well, if that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Tommy? I think so.
I think we covered it.
Yeah, actually back up your devices. Now, I'm going to confess here, I did not back up my phone, my watch, or my iPad. So,
all right, look at you living on the edge.
Yeah, but those devices, if I had to wipe them and start all over again, there would be no tears.
Right.
Nothing about those.
Apple's got articles on how to do all that. Obviously, if you're backing up to iCloud, you could do that. One caveat there is if you go from iOS or whatever version, iPadOS, iOS 26 to 27, your iCloud backup for 27 won't restore for 26. So you'd have a gap there if you decided to go back to the kind of production version. This one thing you can do to get around that a little bit, if you wanted, is you could do a backup using the Finder on your Mac. Again, there's an article for that. We won't walk through it. But if you've got most of your stuff already, like messages syncing to iCloud, your photos, your notes, all your stuff, there's not really much to back up anyway.
Nope.
So, that's about it. I think, decide if you want to do it. We're only probably 6, 7, maybe 2 months from the release. Yeah. Probably mid-September, right around the iPhone event, whenever that is. And then these will be out. So,
and every one of these betas is going to get better as new ones release. So
and don't be surprised if there's one that comes out that is awful, and then they hurry up and put out another one, because that usually happens too. Which is why we say don't do this if you're not really made for beta life.
Yeah, beta life can be dangerous.
Yeah. So. All right, Jeff. I think that's it.
All right. So as usual, shout out to Psychokinetics and Celsius 7 for our show music. Grateful for all of that. Randall Martin Design for our show artwork. The brilliant robots that do look like Tom and me. We're done by him, and Randall's an amazing person and really an amazing artist that really can get to the heart of what it is that you may be trying to promote, or what you may be trying to present as your company. So highly recommend that. As always, recommend us to your friends. Talk to everybody about the Basic AF Show. And hey, I still have some stickers left and some magnets. If anybody were so inclined, send me a message. We'll get it hooked up. And if anybody pays attention to Abe Frennis's podcast, he's got one of our stickers sitting up in the background all the time. Which is
thanks, Abe. Appreciate that.
Nice. Yeah, like that. Tommy, where can we find you?
Let's see. So on Threads, mostly for any social stuff. Website and newsletter are at tomfanderson.com. If you want to join that, send the newsletter out typically a couple times a month. Not too much. Don't want to get too overbearing with messages, and then people are like, you know what, Tom, I'm tired of these. So every couple of months. But all the old ones are up there. Don't forget, if you've got someone or know of someone who's got a child heading off to college in the fall, I've got my guide for selecting the best Mac for that particular person. So that's been updated for 2026. Went back a little while ago and updated it for the recent price increases, which we didn't talk about here, but Apple increased the price because of the shortages on RAM and storage. So I did update it for that. One quick note on that. I mentioned this to you, Jeff, when I did the update. So even with the recent $200 increase that Apple did on the MacBooks, the model that I recommend, which is the 24 gigs of RAM, 512 storage, even with the $200 increase they just did, is still $79 less than it was last year, which is still good. So, I mean, it sucks that they raised the prices, because who wouldn't rather save $200 instead of $79? But it's, is what it is.
Right.
But other than that, that's about it.
All right. You can find me at Reyes Point, mostly on Threads. Kind of stalk the other places on occasion, but don't really post anything anywhere other than Threads, and barely post there either. But you can find me occasionally, and that's the place to be. All
right. Well, that should do it. So thank you for joining us for this episode. I appreciate you hanging out with us. And we will talk to you again in a couple of weeks. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day or your night.
See ya.